40th edition of Dads and Ed. We are officially 40. We don't act a day over 10. Sometimes, with our technical difficulties, it doesn't seem like we've done this more than 10 times. So, welcome. We're excited that you're joining us, though. Trust us, we've grown up over the years. We're rolling into our third year. We're darn near close. I don't know the exact date, but we're getting there. As
Really,
always, what's
40's
that?
40's the new 30, right?
Oh, that's true.
This is really
Yeah.
kind of like our 30th episode. Is that how that works?
That's way too complicated for this show.
I
Anyway, Josh Allen, Tech Integration, Council Bluffs, Iowa, living on the Nebraska side of the river. Excited to be here. 3 wonderful kids and a wonderful wife. I suppose that we'll go to Devin next because we've been told there's a speech that's coming. So, yeah, I'm not sure when that's going to happen, but Devin or Claire?
was like,
Claire, you doing this thing?
okay. I have a dad.
We know that. I'm your dad.
He's
Good.
a K-12 instructional technology coach, and my name is Claire. And to some people, I called the fourth member dad.
You need.
But
You need
to some people, I am not called the fourth member of Dad Tonight, and I am looking directly at you.
Well, they can't on the podcast. They can't
Yeah.
see what you're looking at.
Basically, it looks like you're looking at both of us. So,
You're looking this way. Are you
no.
looking at me?
I'm looking.
You talking to me?
I'm looking at Devin.
Okay. Well, Claire is the unofficial fourth member of Dads and Ed.
Come on, Buster.
Claire is obviously one of my children. Otherwise, I have a random child running around my house.
Okay.
Claire's 9. I have another daughter, Gracie, who is 11. She's in middle school this year. My wife, Erin, who is, if she's not listening now, she'll probably listen at some point in time. But as Claire said, I do work in Council Bluffs Community Schools, and I'm our instructional technology program lead is my official title. All right.
40 shows in. Finally getting that down.
Who knows? I still don't get it right when I'm telling other people. So Claire got it about right. She's probably the closest.
And last but not least, we have the Royals' lucky charm, Brent Catlett. Brent, the floor is yours.
Yes, the Royals, world champs, guys. Brent Catlett here from Kansas City, Mo, home of the World Series champions. I'd like to start by thanking my mom for instilling in me baseball values from a young age. I want to thank previous guest Coach Steven Souter for cheering on the Royals with me, and Jim York. He hasn't been a guest yet, but he's also a big Royals fan. Bill Little that I work with, great Royals fan as well. Friend of the show, Rob Linquist, the show that I didn't make because I was out in Vegas celebrating my 40th on our 40th episode, and 30 years since the Royals have last won. Lots of round numbers there. But I want to thank Rob for being a Cubs fan because I grew up on WGN, and I felt bad they didn't make it. I think it would have been a more fun World Series had we played the Cubs. The Mets kind of rolled over for us. I'd like to thank Devin Schoening. Seeing size a Giants guy, and the Giants were in the series because it's an odd year. Therefore, it gave us an opportunity to win. John Spencer, as well, is also a Giants fan, previous guest on the show. So I must thank Dayton Moore and Coach Yost. There's this thing out there that you get Yosted, but he isn't. No one's been Yosted at this point as we pulled down the title. So I'll stop there and drop my pen. Excited for tonight and the show with Amanda.
Wow. Well, that was something.
It was something.
That was something.
It was a little impromptu. Kind of came to me late. Sorry, I could have done a better job, but I was falling asleep on the couch here because it's been, these Royals were in so many extra inning ball games till the wee hours, and then I had to get up. Today was a PD day. I was up at the butt crack of dawn. Had to be prepared for 40 nurses. I'm not even joking. I'm not making these. I couldn't make these numbers up, but so yeah, I had a full day of that, and I'm gonna be honest, I'm a little toast, but I'm excited. I think I'll sleep well tonight.
Well, we are glad you're here.
Yeah, and you'll get used to this winning thing at some point. Eventually it becomes somewhat old hat, right? I mean, you'll get used to it. I understand the feeling of euphoria right now when it's been 30 years since you've been able to celebrate a World Series title. But I promise it'll get easier.
I love it. I love it.
But I
Yeah,
was
they shut down schools. I mean, this city is like shutting down. They're calling school off, and it's euphoria around town for sure. I've seen some old pictures of, '85. I was 10. I was 10. I remember. I do. Like I mentioned, you guys pre-show that my dad, he's a big Royals fan, has been for a while, and Cubs were kind of our teams. But so I've seen some old pictures of these guys literally rolling in these old Corvettes with convertible, old 60 some Corvette, and the street is just, I mean, it's insanely lined with people, right? And they could just reach out and touch these guys. I'm assuming we're going to be in a top deck of a bus or something where I can't touch the guy, right? But times have changed maybe. But man, for the city anyway, this city's buzzing, and we've teased about it since I moved down here and all this stuff, but it's been kind of wild ever since I moved here. We've been on a roll. Didn't win it last year, but we're close, and so it's fun to see them, pull it out. And we've talking pre-show with Dayton Moore and the guys that they've all kind of come up through the minor leagues together, and it's a pretty special story. It really is pretty neat.
The interesting thing about that is if you look at the last couple years, I heard this statistic. I can't remember when or where I heard it, but between the Mets and the Giants and the Royals, you end up with three of the teams that have the most homegrown players, so players that have come up through their farm system of any team of any teams in the league. So the Giants did that, the Mets are just like that, and obviously the Royals are like that as well, with so many of those guys having come up through the minor leagues together. So it is pretty cool to see that happen, especially in an era of sports where guys move all around, and you get paid and you leave and you head somewhere else, and it is nice to see teams get to the World Series in baseball with guys they've kind of grown up playing with.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, I forgot. Devin, you're echoing again. Just mute yourself. I forgot. I actually am wearing my Storm Chaser shirt, AAA affiliate, the Kansas City Royals. That's my contribution to the Royals for the evening. Nathan Kleinmeyer asking if we're going to let Catlett talk the whole night about the Royals. No, we do have other stuff on the agenda. We will get to that. Thank you, Nathan, though, for pointing out that we do have a hashtag. If you want to get in touch with the show, you can use the hashtag DadsandEd. You can tweet at us at DadsandEd, dadsanded.podbean.com, and you are always more than welcome to subscribe in iTunes. Just do a search for Dads and Ed and click subscribe, and there you go. You get beautiful stuff like this every other Tuesday, and it's wonderful. So, moving on, now that Devin's back and not echoing, I sent out the homework assignment for the evening, which was, ironically enough, an article about rethinking homework. This is a topic we discussed 2 shows ago with Scott McLeod, and I've seen a couple things come back up again about rethinking the homework, and I was with my son again tonight, and we filled out some awesome worksheets on underlining verbs, which on the one hand took about 5 seconds. All of a sudden I turned around and he was already done. So what did he learn about that? Not sure. But I will tweet this out again and turn the floor over to either one of you. Can jump in and discuss.
Go ahead, Devin.
Yeah, I've had my, I think we've talked about it on here, and I think you're right, it was a couple shows ago, about the homework thing, and, I've always thought that there's some homework that I'm okay with, but I would always hope, and this is maybe a silly made-up term that I'm going to use, but that homework would be spontaneous, right? So meaning that there was some sort of provocation during the day or something that made kids think during the day that when they got home they wanted to know more about it or wanted to use it in some way. And I know that's probably some utopian idea that kids are going to want to go home and and continue working on something they worked on at school, but that's fine. I think I would want to live in some utopian world like that, where teachers and schools are provoking the thought of kids enough that when they get home, they want to continue learning or do something with the learning that they did at school. So I don't know, am I crazy or is that out of bounds?
No, I'm with you. I've struggled. I've probably said it on the show before. Just with, I work all day, and then I get a window of time with my children from, depending on what time I get home. Let's just say 5 o'clock till about 8 o'clock before they're going to bed. And my youngest even earlier than that. So during the work week, I'm spending a minimal amount of hours with my children, and it's not that I don't think school is important. Obviously, I do, but I don't know that I want to be spending time on worksheets and things when if it's meaningful and it's got some value, like I'm behind that, but I don't know that the value of it comes from those worksheets necessarily. Like my daughter's in kindergarten this year, and the teachers are expecting us to read with them. I'm down with that. Like, make me sign a sheet that pushes me as a parent to sit down and read with my daughter. That's good. I can live with that one, and I think that's valuable. And if anything, it actually pushes me as a dad to say, okay, hey, let's get out a book or two and let's do some reading. But the article points out a lot of good things about. I just like the idea of rethinking things, right? And the homework policies and some of that sort of stuff. And what schools are doing or what people are doing with it.
I think one of the things that I keep coming back to is, what's your purpose? That's kind of what we pushed back with our son's teacher about is, what's your purpose for doing this? And, if it's skill development, then, okay, show me that he needs help with that skills because you just sent the report card home and he's proficient in everything. Or, the other thing we got is responsibility. Well, is there other ways that we could teach responsibility that would maybe, impact the school or impact the neighborhood a little bit more, a little bit more authentic than making sure that a worksheet is done? Tonight he says, "Oh, I need to put my name on my paper," and I go, "Oh yeah, don't forget to do that." And just offhanded comment. And he goes, "Well, yeah, if I don't, I have to spend 5 minutes on the wall at recess." And I go, "You have for what?" He goes, "Yeah, I got to spend 5 minutes on the wall at recess if I don't put my name on my paper." And I felt bad, but I just shook my head. He goes, "Yeah, I don't like it either." I'm like, it's just like, yes, you need to put your name on your paper, but it's so that I can turn it back to you, not so that you don't have to spend 5 minutes on the wall at recess. I get it, and it's the balance, the fine line that I struggle with is I don't want to undermine the teacher because she still is in charge. She still has her classroom to run, and I'm not in there. And we all have jobs where we don't always like what's going on, and we have to respect that. Whether you're in jobs like ours or politicians or whatever, you're always going to have to deal with not even authority, but someone who doesn't think the way that you do, and you have to live with that, and you have to work in those constraints. But I just struggle with what the purpose. And Brent, I am completely in agreement with you about like the reading, and Devin, you talked about the extension at home or the authentic piece, and it's great if that's what it is. But out of the
So
5 days this week, I think 3 are worksheets.
why do you think the worksheets happen? Is it
Easy.
because it's easy? Yeah, I mean that shouldn't be okay though, right? Why should that be okay? Why should it be okay to just send that home because it's easy?
Do you think it's also though that like the name on the paper, it's this idea that we're like teaching the kid to be responsible, right? To take it home, to get it back, kind of thing. Even though your son Josh could easily knock that out, right? He's proven that he could do it.
Yeah.
It's just that whole element. I've encountered that kind of mentality, I guess. And I'm speaking more of a K-8 level. in my administration background, it's there. I can't say I can speak to the high school level as well in the realm of this topic at the moment, but I'm sure when my kids get there. But I know Amanda that we'll have on tonight has written about it and spoke about it and certainly tweeted and shared out some of her thoughts. So I'm kind of curious to hear what she might have to say about the subject as well.
And I do fear. Aaron and I were talking a little bit about this today, but school has become less and less fun. There's less fun happening at school, and then kids are at school a lot, right? I mean, they're at school for 7 hours, and then to come home and continue with the kind of thing that might be happening there. I mean, to send home a worksheet, and we've had it too, with both of our girls, but to come home with a worksheet or to come home with something that's just additional work or additional practice, and Josh, you mentioned it, without purpose. I fear that people, that too many teachers don't generally know, one, what their purpose is for sending it, other than it's homework. I've heard a teacher say, an elementary teacher, that they started sending homework because parents asked, like, why doesn't my son or daughter have any homework? Like, why aren't they bringing anything home? And so much of that is still, that's the way it was for them, right? That's the way school was, and just because that's the way it was, like, if there isn't homework, then it must not be tough enough, or if there isn't homework, then they're not going to know whatever it is they need to know. And by gosh, I would hate for kids to go to school for 7 hours and then come home and have to spend another couple hours doing more work.
My problem was, Devin, I'm going to meet you again. My problem was you either have kids that so often that don't need it because they already have a grasp of the concept or the whatever, the rule, the guidelines, whatever, or you have kids that aren't going to get the help at home. So you're on both ends of the spectrum. Neither one are getting the homework done, or it's, again, just wasting the time. So I don't know. It's frustrating. But we'll bring this back up with Amanda when we invite her back in here in just a second. Dad moment of the week. I name dropped last time about being able to go to the President's Skybox Memorial Stadium. First of all, had a fantastic time. My son went with my father-in-law, and we talked with my son. He's 7 years old. He's a boy. We said, when you walk in the stadium, do not ask for something to eat. Do not ask for this. Do not ask for that. We went and got him a brand new hat, Husker hat to wear. He saw the corn heads. He goes, well, can I get one of those? I said, absolutely not. You're not getting one. I'll spend the $20 on a brand new hat that you can wear all the time. You can't wear the corn head all the time. We're sitting at the tailgate, and I get a text from my father. So we have this conversation with my son. Do not ask for this. Do not ask for this. Do not ask for this. Be respectful. You're lucky you're going, all this other stuff. I get a text from my father-in-law at like 10 o'clock in the morning. Game starts at 11. Hey, we're sitting in this section. Maddox has a corn head on. I'm like, are you kidding me? So I told my wife, I go, here's our problem, is we told our son this. We didn't tell my father-in-law not to buy him that stuff. So
right.
Rough game. Had a fabulous time. My son loved it. We could see him. They were sitting not too far away from us, down in the bleachers, not in the skybox like we were, but down in the bleachers. He's like pulling the hat up and down, like he got the foam finger, which was free, luckily. People around him had to hate him. But anyway, good time, other than the Husker game. Brent, what you got?
Yeah, I'm going to go to, so the kids were out of school on Friday and they were off today for a PD day. Friday was the end of our first quarter here in the district, and conferences and all that good stuff. And so we had conferences for a couple of the kids, and my kindergartner that I mentioned with the reading aspect, I've just really been enjoying like seeing her emerge as a reader and stuff, and then some of the sounds and all that good stuff she does. Well, so my daughter's teacher uses Remind and a Facebook page for communication. And she had shot out a Remind message saying, hey, use my website. There's some good stuff on there over the weekend. Get them to show you this stuff. And so we pulled up this YouTube video that had all these sounds and things. As a reader and stuff. it was super cool, and just to hear her like singing these little songs that went along with the. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm soaking up the moments right now, just knowing that I'm only going to have this for a short time with her, and then she's going to be off to the races with stuff. So it was my wife and I, just the moment that her and I had kind of looking across the couch at each other as she was singing these little jingles was pretty awesome.
Well, you know, Brent, mine will go right along with that. With Halloween, my girls are 9 and 11, and our 9-year-old Claire decided she didn't want to trick or treat this year. She really enjoyed handing out candy more than trick or treating, so she did a little bit of trick or treating on our street, but really stayed home in her costume and trick or treat or handed out candy to trick or treaters. And then Gracie, who's 11, actually ended up having a friend come out, and she went trick or treating with her and her family. And so Aaron looked at me kind of and said, it's one of those moments where you never know it's the last time until it was already the last time, right? So we will probably never go trick-or-treating as a family again. So it was kind of one of those things where you're looking and saying, oh, I didn't know that was the last time until it was actually the last time. So, that we may have moved past that entire part of our lives at this moment.
Well, you just come on over whenever you need to.
Well, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with it. I'm just saying you didn't know it was over until it was over.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen. Please rise for the playing of the Alabama national anthem.
1, 2, 3.
All right, we could go on with that.
Very good.
We were told we had to play that anytime we had somebody from Alabama on the show.
Really? But how many times have you had somebody from Alabama on the show?
Well, we haven't.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
So
hey y'all.
We did, just so you know, we played the Canadian national anthem when Dean Shareski was here, and he did stand up during
I
that.
didn't stand up. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
You know that's how you find a redneck in a room. Is you play the song and whoever goes woo, there he is, right there.
Is it bad that I was pretty excited when I had that song though?
I was pretty excited you had that song. Your ringtone.
That's
on top of our game tonight.
Oh, yeah. Well.
Sometimes we don't do walk-up music for everybody.
Oh. Well, I better
generally,
that part then. I've already got strike one, apparently.
That's all right. Ladies and gentlemen, we are pleased to be joined by Amanda Dykes. Amanda, for the thousands of people that will accidentally click on this link and listen to it, introduce yourself to the audience.
Hey, I'm Amanda Dykes. I live in Alabama, obviously. Yeah. I mean, what else? I've been a social technology coach.
Yeah, tell us about
Follow me on
kids.
Twitter. I'm at Amanda C. Dykes, not the other one. That's just Amanda Dykes.
What's the other one? Do I want to ask?
There's apparently one. No, she writes like Jesus books.
Oh.
People send me things all the time. I know this
It could be worse. It could.
Better than Michelle Baldwin's Belly Dancer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So we were talking before you came on about homework and kids. What you have? Your kids are, was it 9 and 6, 9 and 5?
9 and 7.
9 and 7. Oh yeah. Sorry, I had them. So Amanda's second is the same as my oldest. I had those confused. So, what are your thoughts on homework? Where do you stand on that?
I'm really excited that I'm in here with you guys and not in there doing the homework tonight. I hate homework. Yeah. I mean, I was a teacher that gave homework for a little while, and then I realized, what am I doing? They're not doing it, and all I'm doing is just beating my head against the wall. I taught middle school, so, I mean, if you've taught middle school, nothing ever comes back, nothing ever goes home, and it was pointless. And that was what I was dealing with 0, 0, 0, 0, zeros, because they weren't doing it. If they were doing it, they were just putting crap down, and they didn't care. I mean, like I would read the stuff, and I'd think, really, this is what you got. And as a parent, I mean, I don't want to sit here and do homework. I mean, my kid has been with you for 7 hours. If you didn't teach them anything, why do and I hate to be like that. Why do I have to teach it? And I taught my kids when they were in my classroom. We learned what we need to learn. Why am I having to reteach it now? So, whenever you were talking about, I forgot who it was talking about, reading reading with the kids, stuff like that. And I've always hated reading logs. I always said reading logs was, a great way to teach kids how to lie. And teach parents how to lie, pass that on through generations. But, my kid actually has to do a reading log this year, and this is the first time she's ever read it. We get to 4th grade, we've never read a book because she hates it that much. She hates reading. And, I read 100-something books a year, and she hates reading, thinks it's the worst thing in the world. And now she's got this reading log she has to do, and she's actually reading books. And so I have to eat that. I have to take all of my hatred of reading logs back and apologize to all the teachers out there that I have blasted over the years. But, I hate homework. I hate when my kids have to do it, and I hate that when my students have to do it because they didn't do it. It was pointless.
So we were talking about a little bit, why do you think people continue to give it then, right? I know that I think the 3 of us, or the 4 of us now, are in agreement here about why homework is not a great thing. Why do you think it continues to be a thing that is almost every teacher does?
First of all, I think it comes from the top. When I was in the classroom, I had to have 20% of my grade had to come from, was it 20%? Yeah, 20% of my grade had to come from classwork homework. And, so I guess it's just kind of a mindset. Oh, they have to go home and practice this. They have to go home and practice this. It's not going to stay in their head. Well, it don't stay in their head from the time they leave my classroom to the time they get home. Anyway, if they're going to forget it, they're going to forget it. And so, I think that's it. I think it's the way it's just always has been there. And it's also a way that, when the top tells you have to give homework grades, I just gave all my classwork grades and never gave homework grades.
Right.
But luckily we got to group those together. But that's part of it. I think a lot of it's just we've always done it. You had to suffer. That's just part of schools. You got to suffer through homework. How stupid that is. That's just kind of where you have a bad mindset of that's the way it's always been done.
Right.
So
I'm not the only one with a cold, by the way.
It's this horrible cough that's been here for 2 weeks now. I caught it at the Ohio State game. I left there with a cough, and it's never gone away.
I love how it's a reference to the Ohio State game.
It was what it was.
Yeah.
Talk
to us about your favorite football team and what you think of them.
My favorite football team,
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So there's this little team. We've got 15 national championships. Y'all were talking about y'all's cute little, couple of wins for a baseball thing. But 15 national championships, University of Alabama.
Okay.
That's all I gotta say.
I had the wrong colors. I thought it was blue and orange. I totally messed that up.
Blue doesn't touch orange. Blue, orange, they don't touch ever. They don't touch. In my world, blue never touches orange because that's just Satan. So my kids will even do that. My kids will be like, "Mom, you got blue touching orange." Ah!
Wow.
So,
the interesting thing, I don't know if even these guys know, I've been ever since I was young, and being here kind of pick whoever sports you want, but I've always been a Florida Gators fan since I was a young kid, since I remember watching football. So I was hoping that would come up. That's good. It's been a while. It's been a few years now since Florida's been relevant. So
they're gonna win. They're gonna win the East. Oh, bless the little East's heart. They're just so cute over there, trying to we're SEC, but we can't win. And but they'll win the East, so they'll get to play, I guess, hopefully Alabama in the SEC championship.
Yeah.
Alabama or LSU, whoever wins this week.
Well, that's a perfect segue, actually. There's a lot of people, even around here, that talk about, having a house divided, and Nebraska has no rival right now, mainly because they're terrible. But, we lived through that a long time ago. You have a somewhat unique hatred during this week. Your husband is an LSU fan. I have actually been with you during an Alabama LSU game, and when I say been with you, I mean you would not leave the establishment we were at because the game was going on, and you weren't. I believe at that time you were the Tide were behind, so you weren't really all that much fun to hang out with.
No, it's
So,
not. I was
so,
not, and they lost. They ended up losing that game, which they came back and won the national championship. But
so
that was
talk
when they
about.
replayed each other again in the national championship. Yeah, it's a terrible thing. Like LSU's horrible. Like they're just evil people. You know, they're just evil people, and I have to live with one. And so one weekend of the year, well, we don't talk football. He was trying to talk about it earlier, and I was just like, okay. You know, I just kind of picked up my phone and just acted like he wasn't talking because I really want to hear about LSU. I mean, like, you know, he's sitting there talking about Les Miles and how wonderful he was, and I was just like, oh my gosh, he's a psycho. You know, when do you say that? So, yeah, but
It'll be fun.
it is what it is.
Yeah.
It is a bad week. It's a bad week. We don't watch the game together. I will not be in this. I will not be in this house watching this ball game. It's just the way it is. We did that one time. It was really bad. We had our preacher over and we watched the ball game, and yeah, it was bad. The preacher and I got up and left the house. Watched it one time in Tiger Stadium, and we watched it one time in Tiger Stadium, and he threatened to break my shaker. And then one time we watched it at Bryant Denny, and I left him in Bryant Denny. We just don't watch it together anymore. Yeah, I think that's why I went to Ed Camp KC that year, was because I just didn't want to have to deal with it. And so when he started talking about the game, I went and booked airplane tickets and left and went. It all worked out, so.
So having the preacher over wasn't intentional then, that just was coincidence.
Yeah, it was just how it
Wasn't
is.
someone there to actually mediate as that was happening? No. Okay. Hey, I'm curious, Amanda. I read a recent post. I just finished today the book The Martian, all right? And
Yeah.
I saw the movie a couple weeks ago, and I think I pulled out maybe something very similar to what your post ended up being about, and I kind of want you to maybe talk about it a little bit. But you know, there's this scene at the end of the movie which isn't pertinent to the movie unless you don't know that he gets back or not, where he says, you know, he talks about getting home and has this comment that says, you know, you solve one, you do the math, you solve a problem, and then you solve another problem. If you solve enough problems, you get to go home. And you kind of wrote about in your post this idea of being a problem solver. Can you talk about that? Because you know, like I said, just because I finished it today and watched the movie a couple weeks ago, I kind of thought the same thing. Can you kind of talk about where that came from?
Yeah. You know, and the thing about it is that if those of you who have no idea what we're talking about, there's a book out called The Martian, and it's a fantastic book, probably one of the best books I've read in a long time. And the movie is out now. I actually saw it for the second time. Last week, I took my daughter to see it. I got to see it with NASA about a month and a half ago. NASA actually had a media week, and for some reason, I showed up as education media, and they invited me, so I got to come. And you know, the whole week we were talking about how, you know, NASA, how pretty much the Martian is, you know, this is kind of the plan. I mean, you know, that's where we're headed. We're headed to there, and you know, we've got 15 years till, you know, we've got somebody on Mars, and that's kind of crazy to think about. Our students right now, our middle school and upper elementary school students are going to be the ones that get to go to Mars, and so, like, so in the book, he starts talking about how you solve these little problems here and there, and he's a perfect scientist, even though he's not a real person. But he is the perfect scientist because he takes it and he breaks it down in little. I mean, you could look, oh my God, I'm stranded on Mars, and because if you don't know, he's stranded on Mars, and so you're like, oh my God, I'm stranded on Mars. You know, me, I would be like, oh my God, I'm stranded on Mars, I'm gonna die. You know, but he took it little by little. Okay, I've got to find enough oxygen to make it today. Okay, now I've got enough oxygen to make it this. I forget how many sols. Sol is a Martian day, by the way, if you're not aware. It's about 24 hours and 36 minutes. So he's got to make it this, you know, so many days with oxygen. Then he's got to find food for so many days, and then he learns how to grow potatoes. Well, you know, I've got to grow potatoes, and I could grow potatoes, and I've got to have bacteria in my soil. So, you know, he goes and finds his poop, and, you know, like, he goes through and he knows that if he finds his own poop, that it's going to be his own bacteria. I mean, it's just like these little pieces here and there. Oh, now I've got to communicate with Earth. So he goes and he finds which one of the rovers? He goes and finds one of the rovers.
Pathfinder.
Which one?
Oh, sorry. I think he said Pathfinder, but I muted him because he's echoing again.
Okay, so Pathfinder. So he goes and finds Pathfinder and he brings him back. You know, so he looks at every little thing, and that's one of the things like we forget to teach kids how to do, because kids are so bad, like in project-based learning with STEM activities. You tell them, okay, here's what you're gonna do. Like I was so bad about like when we would do project-based learning, and I would not tell my kids what the end product was until after they've done their research, because if I did, they would go straight to that. And that was one of the things I had to learn with project-based learning, was to teach them how to take each little step. Okay, this is what you're going to do first, and this is what you're going to do next. We're going to go through this whole engineering process. We're not going to start here and just go here. We've got to have prototypes, and we've got to go back and test them, and we've got to go back and give feedback. And that was a hard thing for them. That's a hard thing for kids, is to take that and break it down into little bitty pieces. And I loved how that book and how the movie actually, showed how it was the perfect scientific method. I wish it didn't have F-bombs on every single page, because I would have totally, pushed that to be read in every school. But, it is what it is.
Tell us about your trip to.
I'm sorry, what?
I was going to say, tell us about your trip to NASA. I thought, I certainly follow you in different spaces, so I'm kind of aware of your stuff. But to our listeners, tell us about how that came about and what you got to do there and all that good stuff.
Okay, so we'll say I guess it would be 4 years ago. I got to go. Was it 4 or 3 years? A couple of years ago, when Curiosity landed on Mars. I got to go to JPL, which is the Jet Propulsion Laboratory in California, which is the place that they actually run all of the non-manned spacecraft. And so I actually just signed up through it. There's a thing called NASA Social. I think they changed the name of it. No, it is that is the changed name. It used to be NASA Tweet Up. So NASA Social, if you ever just put in that hashtag on Twitter, is fantastic to find out what things are going on. And so through NASA Social, I just ran. Oh, that would be fun. You get to see Curiosity Land. Okay, and I just filled out a form. And I didn't think anything about it until I was at ISTE that year, and get this email, hey, would you like to come to JPL to, meet these engineers and stuff. And yeah, so like I got to be there. I was the only teacher there. There was 24 of us. They had 12,000 enter. I don't know how I ended up being the token teacher, but I did. Got to meet the commissioner of NASA, which was really cool, which totally started my whole STEM trek. If you don't know me, I'm a huge STEM person. I'm really big in how important it is, and that was kind of what triggered that for me, was meeting the commissioner of NASA, and he sits there and he tells me, hey, you're the one teacher here. You go back and you have your students learn reading, or they can learn science. And because really and truly, that's how we teach science today. I mean, it's so terrible. We teach science as reading comprehension. We say, here, read this book, here, answer these questions, here, you need to memorize these facts that you read. And so that was a huge starting point for me. And so I write about STEM a couple of times on my blog. And so NASA decided that they're going to have an education kind of summit where they wanted educational media people to come in. And the chick Googled my name, education bloggers and STEM and NASA, and somehow my name popped up. And so I got another email that asked if I wanted to come and be there. So I got to go to Johnson, and I got to go to the buoyancy lab. I got to meet a couple of stars from The Martian. Got to meet, what is his name? I can't remember. He's the one that plays, what is it? The soldier guy on Captain America. It's way too late on a Monday. Was it Night Soldier? I can't remember. I say it all the time. My child says it all the time. My daughter's all about Captain America. She told me, she said, I gotta learn how to learn about Captain America, because then I can walk up to any boy in school and have to start a conversation. So we were all about Captain America. Yeah, I know. I didn't know if I should be proud or terrified at that moment, but we got to that point where we're there. And she was Captain America for Halloween, by the way. It was kind of awesome. She designed a whole entire dress for it. But so I got to go and meet these people, but I got to meet a lot of astronauts. Like I said, I got to watch The Martian like a month before it came out in the movie theater, and and we were sitting there, and I was looking around, oh yeah, there's these movie stars here, but I realized that there was 20-something astronauts sitting there with me, so I was totally geeking out. I was like, there's real astronauts! Oh my gosh! So yeah, it was a really cool experience. I got to go to the Apollo room where they actually, the command center for the Apollo launches, and got to go to where they talked to Scott Kelly in space, who's there for a year now. And it was the midway point, so it was the halfway point for him, so we got to call up there and talk to him, which was really cool. So,
Very cool.
So yeah, that was kind of a fun experience.
One of the, you talk about STEM quite a bit. One of you is echoing now. How is it? How do we get that into schools in the format that they're in now? Because that's the big question. Too many of the STEM programs or STEM things end up being after-school activities. So what are ways that we can integrate that, or either ideas that you tried or ideas that will work if someone would give it a chance, that you can introduce that so that it's in during a school day?
I think one of the things, and I say this often, is we got to take what we're doing in science and throw it out. I mean, really and truly, we only have 2.3 hours of an elementary school day is spent on science. So, and that's kind of sad, because when you say, okay, so what are you doing? Oh, they're reading, or we're learning. It's not real science, because if you look at the definition of science, it's asking questions and it's solving things. And so bringing that in I think we've got to get rid of the old way we do it. I hate to keep saying we need to add this to a curriculum. We need to add this to school. We need to add this to school. We need to add this to school, because that's not working out. We can't keep adding if we don't subtract. We've got to keep balance. And so I think a lot of it is taking out the old. Taking out these science books that are 100 years old. My science book actually had Pathfinder in it when I taught 6th grade science, and I just came back from Curiosity being landing on Mars. That's really kind of sad if you think about it. So we've got to change how we teach science, and we can put these other subjects in there. We can teach.
Wait for. A little worried that would happen. All right, we'll catch back up with her when she rejoins us. We will move so smoothly into the Apper side of the week, Twitter follow, and coming event. I have the privilege of doing Apper side of the week. I am going to put in the on Twitter this website called Nextdoor. I don't know if you guys have messed around with it, but I actually had heard about it. Joe Mazza, former guest of Dads and Ed, mentioned it on Twitter one time. I think he was in Kearney a while back, or early October, to do our fall conference, and then it actually came up at church, of all places. We were talking about connecting with your neighborhood, and one of the pastors mentioned it. So I finally, took a look, and it's just like just like a neighborhood social networking type of place. I found out tonight how to mute people. So there was someone who was posting about their, basically a interview, or not an interview, but an advertisement for their job, and I've figured out you can mute them out. So it's not as much. It's like Facebook, that you can get rid of that stuff. So kind of a cool way to see who's in your neighborhood, and so check it out. Nextdoor. I will put it on the Dads and Ed account and the hashtag. I forget who's next. I just moved that tab. Brent, you're up next.
Gotcha. And I used Nextdoor in my previous neighborhood back before I moved to Independence, and found it to be very helpful and easy for people to join, and good for them. So it's a good site. I've definitely used it before. Okay, so I have a Twitter follow. I'm gonna get my tweet prepared here, but tonight I want to go with Dr. Eric Langhorse. He recently got his doctorate in the last 6 months, so congrats to him for that. He is a social studies teacher in Liberty Public Schools, which is north of the Kansas City area, not too far, 20 minutes or so, not even. He is a Google certified innovator and was a Missouri Teacher of the Year once upon a time. He's originally from Nebraska.
Like all good people are.
What's that?
Like all good people are.
Yeah, all good folks. And he is kind of on his Twitter profile. He says he's a history geek. He teaches middle school history. He's into photography. Just does a lot of awesome stuff. I'm looking forward to seeing him hopefully at Camp KC on Saturday. And I definitely think he's worthwhile adding to your follows or your PLN, if you will, in Twitter. So he's E. Langhorst on Twitter.
All right. Since Amanda is back, we will pause.
Yeah.
First off, Bill Little, friend of the show, says Chris Evans plays Captain America. So we've clarified that. Okay. I don't even remember what we were talking about now.
I don't either.
Okay, good. I know one last question that I have for you. You mentioned you've had a cold ever since you stepped into the Horseshoe. You attended the game at Ohio State. As a lifelong Southerner, how would you compare and contrast the night at Ohio State, which it wasn't a good game anyway, so it wasn't like Ohio State Michigan or anything like that, but how would you compare and contrast the environments?
It was a little bit more it just was I guess the party atmosphere was a little different. I mean, it wasn't like, okay, this is going to get me in so much trouble. It's like people didn't dress up for the ball games. I mean, it wasn't like a classy event like, oh, we're going to the ball game, let's go put on our heels, let's go dress up, you know. That was kind of different. There was a different intensity there. You know, I mean, football is football. But, yeah, it was just, you know, guys, they actually, like, tailgate. Like, they actually sit in the back of their cars. That was impressive. Like, there were actual, like, cars pulled up. There was no, like, catering booths. There was no $100,000 RVs. Like, they actually pulled up their cars and, like, the hatchbacks were up and people were tailgating. So that was kind of cool. And I actually brought an Australian with me, and she had never seen a marching band before. She had never seen, you know, so it was kind of interesting. The guy beside me really and truly thought we were government spies. He couldn't understand why an Australian and an Alabama girls would be at a ball game. Which there was not a lot of women there. That was another thing. It was a lot of men. It was like white man central. I mean, that was like it. It was only Ohio. A bunch of white men, and I thought, yeah, that was very odd. It was kind of like the women were like, okay, time for the ball game, we're going home, and I was like, I don't know, the ball game's in the stadium, guys. There's football. So I got a lot of questions because I was cheering for both teams when they would do like something good because it was football and I like football, and it was like, oh, that was awesome. And that was kind of an odd thing. But, yeah, I mean, it wasn't that much different, I guess. Just wasn't such an event like it is here in the South. Yeah, it was more like going to an LSU game. So.
Wow. All right. Amanda, I am going to mute you because you are echoing. I will let you come back in just a second. Thank you very much for your time. Do you have time to stick around and hang out with us for a few more minutes? Okay, she shook her head yes for those of you listening on the podcast because I actually missed the mute button when I was trying to unmute her. Typical well-oiled machine that we are. Mm-hmm. All right, back into the after interview segment. Devin has an upcoming event that he would like to share. Devin?
Sure. Yeah, I know that registration is now open for Ed Camp Iowa, which happens in February. And the kind of interesting thing or unique thing about Ed Camp Iowa is it's done in 5 different locations across the state. So registration is open for that now. You can register for one of the five spots. One will be here in Council Bluffs. on February 13th. So it's kind of a unique way that they've done that. That I was done that for the last few years, with kind of an event happening in the in the four corners of the state, plus one in the middle of the state. I think it's at Ames in the middle of the state this year. But yeah, so Ed Camp Iowa is open now. Registration is open, and it will take place February 13th.
Nice. All right. Into the last event for the evening, the district spotlight. Devin, you are back up again.
Oh. I am going to highlight from my district a language arts teacher from Abraham Lincoln High School. Her name is Brenda Smerdell, and she has been sharing a lot, doing a lot of great sharing on Twitter, and she has a blog where I just love her reflection about the things that she is doing in her classroom, what's working and what's not working. I think she's one of those that does a great job of not only sharing the things that are just awesome, but also sharing some things where she's tried and she's not all that sure what's going to happen or that it went perfectly. So I am going to share hers out. It's just B. Smerdell. She is a language arts teacher in one of our high schools.
All right. I am going to share our LC Sports Fan account. What that is, we have a parent group that does a lot of, they go to all the events. They do a great job of reporting back through Twitter and Facebook as to what's going on. Tonight, for example, we had a playoff football game in Des Moines, 2 hours away, but there's always someone at the game that has a Twitter account and gets the rest of us some information. So big shout out to them. Hoping that at some point we can get a new video streaming system for them, but that's a whole other discussion for another time. Very grateful that they are able to go out and share what's going on, and they share all the sports, which is awesome. You know, someone is at every event, whether it's swimming, what was the other one? Oh, cross country, state cross country this week. So very cool of them. Devin, and then we'll get to Amanda's got one as well.
Or perhaps Brent.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, it's all good. I've been working with a teacher, Jennifer Gage, the middle school teacher in my district, that has kind of embarked on getting her kids using Twitter, and I've been kind of helping her with the process. So I want to shout her out for her work in that. A bit of a trailblazer on a lot of levels. When I first got to the district, like, social media was kind of a bad idea and topic, and I've been trying to break down those walls. So I'm appreciative of Jennifer and her work, and I just want to continue to support her in that venture because she's doing awesome stuff. So thank you, Jennifer, and keep up the great work.
All right, Amanda, go ahead and unmute yourself, and who you got?
Did I mute? Am I here?
You're good.
Okay. So I guess someone from my district that's pretty awesome is Michelle Wilson. She is on Twitter at Southern Ruckus. I bet you Northerners don't know how to spell ruckus. It's R-U-C-K-U-S. And she's pretty awesome. She's one of our librarians. We have 56 schools. There's 2 instructional coaches, and we have 56 schools. So that's a lot of fun. I'm a lot of tired. But she's one of them that does a fantastic job with her students. And, I was running reports today on Google usage, and her school's totally, doing so much wonderful things. So, yeah, she is at Southern Ruckus. She has a blog, and it's pretty cool stuff. She writes a lot of mommy stuff. So it's kind of fun stuff to read.
Good. Shout out to Shaylin Farnsworth, former guest of the show as well, for checking in. We have come to the end of another fantastic evening. Amanda, we cannot thank you enough for joining us. We appreciate you giving up the time. Hopefully you still have some homework for the kids that you can get back to, or not. But in all seriousness, thank you very much for the time. Look forward to seeing you again in person sometime soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me, y'all.
You are very welcome. We are back November 16th. Don Wettrick, did I say that right, Brent?
Mm-hmm.
All right. He is going to be our guest, 8:30 on November 16th. Until then, have a great couple weeks.